Hello and welcome to DungeonRole, games and adventure from across the tabletop. So today we're starting a new D&D campaign. Very excited as this is set in my own homebrew world called 5 Cities, which you can see on the screen. We've got 5 brave adventurers who are about to set off.
That's brave.
I'm brave.
Very brave.
My character is brave.
But you're not. Yes, 5 brave adventurers ready to set off into the world of 5 Cities. What we'll do is we'll do a little introduction in a minute. So if everyone will go around, they'll say their character, what they're playing, and then we'll get into it. But first off, I just wanted to say, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on future episodes of this. Check out links below for all of our other shows. We've got some stuff coming up on Bloodbowl, we've got Dropfleet Commander, and we've got an Arkham horror card game series going on currently. So check those links out below and subscribe to the channel. But I guess we'll kick off with our new Dungeons and Dragons game. Woo! So first off, we've got Jim.
Mini fist bump.
Hello, I'm Jim. I'm eating crisps. I am going to play a character called Cormac Mottle, who is a halfling, but in we're calling, what's the name of it?
Himlac.
Himlac.
That's the old Atani word for halfling.
Well, there you go. I am a fighter, but quite bad at it. So I've got incredibly high dexterity, wisdom, and intelligence, and very low in everything else. And I'm going to be fighting for my right to be viewed as an equal among the other fighters of different races.
Okay. I'm John. I'm playing a paladin of Abutar, the god of knowledge. My character's name is Saint, and she is a half-elf, which in this world is primary bloodline Nalosi.
Yep.
And secondary bloodline Silver.
Yep.
She's a dungeoneer, an explorer, a seeker of knowledge, so going into dark places and reading stones. Probably not the most safest thing in the world, but
Lots of fun.
lots of fun. My main stat is in intelligence when playing a paladin, so it's going to go well.
Hi, I'm Roger. I am playing a character called Aurelian. I am a pure Nalosi. I'm a cleric. I am of the Forge domain, so I like to make things, but I'm also quite fighty. I have heavy armour. I walk around with a big hammer and looking to explore the world and change it for the better.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm new, and I'll be playing Lena Ashbell, who is a ranger. She's also Nalosi, and hopefully seeing what this lot get up to.
I'm Simon, and I'm playing a thief. I'm more of a guide. I spend a lot of time up in the north region, so I'm now like slumming it down here in the south with all the southerners. And my character had a pretty hard going time, so he's just kind of getting into things.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what are you wearing?
And I am from the region of Elks, so I'm from the north. So I'm currently in my elk disguise.
Yep, excellent. And it's December, so it's the festive season.
I've got very low wisdom, so I may mistake you for an actual elk.
That's fine. That's fine.
What is that doing here?
I'm an elk that fights back, so that's okay.
And if anyone's wondering, we're in the dungeon, my garage, and consequently it's a little bit cold, hence why we've all got jumpers and things on.
And my character's called Poot.
Poot.
I didn't
Poot.
say that.
What race are you?
Nice.
Poot Whitehorn, yeah.
And your race? Your bloodlines?
So I'm a Himlac and a Sylph, which is basically as close to a gnome as I can get.
Yes. So you're effectively a gnome.
So very small,
basically a
smaller
gnome.
than a halfling.
No.
No,
Right,
halflings
so-
are smaller.
Yes.
Gnomes are really tall in this world. It doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Oh.
And as a Himlac,
So-
I am proud of stature and taller than anyone else in my race, apart from all the other Himlacs who are exactly the same size.
Yeah.
Uniform.
Yes. So if you have Sylph blood, you are generally taller than your other bloodline.
Yeah.
It's important to point out that there are no primary Sylph bloodline people left in the world. And there are also a section of society called the Prima, who are the first people who were under the dominion of the Golems 1,000 years ago. And it's from those 4 bloodlines of the Prima that all the other people have descended. So you're all descended at a very great distance from Prima.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are some of them still around because they are effectively immortal. You can cut their heads off and kill them, but they are immune to disease, poison, old age, etc., etc.
And that's the king.
Yes,
The
the
one-
king,
Yeah.
Leron Fallstar, the Ever King, as he will never die, and therefore he will always be king. And he resides in Ondsmouth, which is the city that the game begins in. So Ondsmouth is the first and the largest of the 5 cities, and the seat of the Kingdom of 5, named because of the 5 great cities across the world. If people want to check out the setting, there's some stuff on our website at garbaggames.co.uk, where you can go and have a look at the map and a bit of information about the cities. So that's quite useful. And it's a huge city which has various remnants of the old golem structures from 1,000 years ago. One of which being a great golem road that heads out from the city in a perfectly straight line, which is a series of rails on a black material that hold it perfectly level all the way through the terrain out to the mountains in the east. There is also the Black Road, which stretches north and south from the city, and the cities have kind of grown up along this Black Road out into the rest of the world. Right, so you guys have all been called or found your way to the home of Stevon Ermott, of the Ermott household. They are renowned in the city for their military skill, and they work a lot with the Bloodbowl household in training the king's army. You have found out through various means, and this will all sort of come out as we go along, about the fact that Stevon Ermott has a bit of an issue with one of his reeves. These are his kind of officials who go out around the countryside to all his holdings, collecting taxes, issuing out new laws from the city, all that kind of activity. Normally, his reeve Hanva would have returned by now, and you have, in one way or another, either seen a notice in a nearby tavern, one of the more slightly upmarket taverns in the town, heard through the Church of Usain, so Roger, your cleric of Usain, which is the sun god and the forge god. They often get donations from the Baron, Baron Stevon Ermott. So they've mentioned this to you, and you've arrived to offer assistance. Or you've been through the Cartographer's Guild or some other way, you've found out that this poor noble, well, he's actually suffering on hard times of late, which is why he's quite eager to get a group of people to go and find out what's happened to his reeve. And you've all arrived at his, he's got a holding in the city, which is a series of buildings. The main one being his house, which is the ground floor and the first floor are made of stone, and then the second floor and third floor are made of wood. So it's quite a big building, but it looks like it's in a bit of disrepair. There are a few outer buildings, but you have all made your way to the foyer of his house. And in this room, there is a space that goes up through sort of the first 3 floors of the building. So the top floor is sealed off, and there's kind of balconies around it, nice wooden structure. There's kind of leather seats dotted around, armchairs. There's a fire roaring under at the far end, and there's 2 staircases that go up either side. And you have been let in by his man, Aliulis, who is clearly a southerner, sorry, I dropped my pencil. Clearly a southerner, as he has dark skin, black hair, and has a Satorian accent. Satoria is the far south city where there is the school, the 3 Stars, which teaches the Magi the secrets of magic. And he's kind of slowly got you all into the room, and you are all gathered in this foyer. And he says to you all, if you would please wait here just one moment, I shall fetch the Baron to...
What language is he speaking?
He is speaking in Marique, which is the local language of Ondsmouth.
Fine. I'm just stood there finishing my breakfast. I have no idea what he's saying.
Okay.
But that's okay.
He switches to Ferric as well and says the same. I will just fetch the Baron for you.
Sausage.
His voice, he has a sort of lyrical quality to his voice. You can tell he naturally speaks Quesh, which is the southern language, and he kind of makes his way off. He's kind of wearing modest robes with a nice belt around it, with a a fairly posh-looking buckle with the Ermott symbol, which is crossed halberds. And he kind of makes his way off to a staircase briefly, and the 5 of you are left in the foyer. I think it'd probably be a good idea if we go around now and you just describe what your characters look like. So once again, we'll start with Jim or Cormac. Cormac, how are you dressed? What do you look like?
Cormac is 3'1.5" tall. He is wearing studded leather armor and carrying a shield as usual. It's his usual attire. He has kind of grassy looking hair, which due to the time of year is kind of greeny. What time of year is it?
Spring.
It's spring. So yeah, it's kind of going from brown to green right now. It changes with the seasons. But his hair kind of extends into a bit of a grassy beard as well.
Cool.
So not particular. Just looks like it's not messy. It's trimmed. But yeah, still,
pruned.
Yes. Not to the point of looking like it's freshly done.
Okay.
But there's no patterns or anything in it, or any words.
Any predominant colour to your clothing or anything?
No, not really. It's studded leather, so it's just kind of a darkish brown with kind of bits of metal on it. Yeah.
Cool.
Saint, she's quite tall, at least 6'1", taller than your average kind of human female. She's wearing scale mail as well, but quite form-fitting. It's got rivets in it instead of like straps of metal or anything like that. A light backpack on the shoulders, which seems to be full of stuff and things. A heavy book on the side. She's also carrying a short sword. Has sun-kissed skin, as if she was from the south, but her hair is auburn. Entwined with gold leaves, and it's in a long ponytail down the back of her head, and shocking gold eyes as well. Quite young, around 24. But yes,
you can all tell that Saint has sylph blood.
Yes.
Aurelian is about 6 foot tall, quite broadly built, wearing full chainmail armor. He has almost golden skin, sort of like the light brown golden skin, very dark black hair. Dark brown eyes, and has a gold sun tattoo around his right eye.
It kind of gives away what you kind of believe in.
Yeah, I also have a shield slung over my back and a warhammer in a loop at my hip.
Which you've got just behind you, I think.
Yes.
In case of emergency.
Just in case. Okay, cool.
You can reach all the way to the
Turns into a live action.
No, it's too close quarters for that.
I don't like that decision, GM.
Possibly feeling slightly intimidated by these more fancy, well-dressed individuals. Lena's wearing, she's about, 5'6", wearing some very worn, practical travelling gear.
Cool.
Black hair, green eyes, human, yes, nosy.
You can say human. No,
yeah,
is just the old word for it.
Just kind of waiting to see what's going on. Not really sure she should be here. Really.
Weapons?
Got a bow and some swords somewhere under that cloak. But yeah, all travelling gear and they're looking a bit road worn.
Okay. So Poot is you can't really see that much of Poot because if there's a shadow in the room, Poot is stood in it. And about 4.5 foot, just wearing traveller's clothes. You can't really see any weapons of any description. No pack, nothing. Does have a fur waistcoat to just keep him nice and warm.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, but generally just in the shadow.
Okay, cool. There's very nice furniture dotted around, but as I said, everything looks slightly old and slightly in bad condition, like he hasn't had someone around to properly polish all the wood in a long time. And that, as you're sort of sitting in this space, the stairways above you and sort of doors off to either side, you do sort of get the feeling that there aren't many people in the building, and it does feel quite quiet. And then the kind of quiet is broken by footsteps above, and you see a man start walking downstairs. He's Nolosi bloodline, so he's a human, and he has sort of greying black hair, grey at the temples. He's got a bit of a beard. He's wearing navy blue kind of tabard with his sigil on it, the halberds. And other than that, he's not really remarkable. He's got some nice boots on, and he kind of walks down the stairs and kind of stops in front of all of you. He sort of gives you all a bit of a glance. Some of you a bit more than others, sort of looking over into the shadow. Why don't you step out, my friend?
I shall step forwards.
What language is that?
He's talking in Ferric.
Okay.
Does everyone understand Ferric?
Yes.
I understand.
Make an intelligence roll.
Oh dear.
Because
no.
one thing to say is all the languages come from a
11.
root language. So it's like someone in the room, Italian, French kind of crossover. You might be able to pick up some of the words.
11.
Okay, so you get a bit of a gist of what he's saying.
Can we notice that he's trying hard to listen though? Trying hard to work out the language. Is it obvious? Are you going?
Or you're just like
Oh, you're just like,
standing there with your warhammer.
Kind of just
Going,
stood there.
okay, fair enough.
Okay, cool. He's yes. So, thank you all for coming. I'm very concerned about Hamber, my fellow. I believe you've all been informed of the current predicament. Yes, there's 3 towns that he normally visits along the Golem Road, and normally it takes him about 10 days, and it's been more than a score. So I'm very concerned for his well-being, and I need a group of capable people to head out and check out the area, ask the locals what's going on, and as what I've heard is that you are capable people with a useful set of skills that could potentially work towards this. Does this seem like something you're all willing to take on?
Very happy to help, my lord.
As he was talking, can I saddle up to the cleric and whisper in a low voice in Quesh, "Are you having trouble?"
It is a bit unclear. I can only catch the gist.
And
of what
then
he's
Make
saying.
a little stealth roll just to see how quietly you do that.
Not very quietly.
Are you having trouble?
In Quesh. So.
I think I'm getting the gist of it. I will reply in cash.
Would you like me to translate?
I can wait till afterwards.
Okay.
Why don't we just ask to see what languages people can speak and speak in a common?
He
Wouldn't
sort of he
that
stops
be
and he
a normal
says,
thing to do?
Are we having?"
I think there may be a bit of a language barrier. He says in Ferric. She says in Ferric.
Okay. Well, I can repeat all this. I'm sure one of you can tell.
I can translate as you go,
all of these. Very well. Very well.
and I will translate as he explains all that.
And you can tell he actually has a Ferric accent, which means he's not necessarily from
Not a local.
Ondsmouth. Yes, as I said, there are 3 towns, Tall Pine, Oakheart and Greenrise, that he normally surveys for taxes and gathers those.
What were they?
Tall Pine, Oakheart and Greenrise.
So these 3 towns are kind of on a major trail that leads out into the strike, into the woods. Hence why we need people such as yourself. And as you can probably guess from their names, they're all logging communities. So I gather taxes from these people. They work on my lands. They cut wood from my forest, and they have been good people. They have worked hard. We have what I would consider a strong relationship. I do not understand why Hamver would have had any trouble. And likewise, Hamver has always been loyal to me. He's not one who would gather taxes and run off into the woods. And it's quite an isolated area out there. They are sort of a bit remote from other towns. So
Most of them are.
yes.
Do
Well,
any bandits operate in the area?
Plenty.
where do they not operate? Unfortunately, the strike is quite a dangerous area, as your friend here can attest to. I would be well stocked and provisioned and have plenty of ammunition. He says, looking at your bow. Now, I've arranged passage for a group on the Golem Road on one of the Aeromancer carriages that travel out from the city. and this will get you to the local area quickly, and then there's sort of a day's travel between each town. I'd say town, I'm being generous. Now these are logging communities, so a lot of their people are spread out throughout the woods, so it may take you a little time to sort of ask everyone off. I'm sure they will have known what Hamber's up to and where he's gone, so I would ask that you go through this area, check through these towns, and see if you can find out what's happened to Hamber. Now, he will have a fairly large amount of money on him. We do seasonal taxing in that area, just due to the way the people work, and they go out into the woods for long periods of time. So it makes more sense for us to collect it seasonally, and this is the spring tax. Now, it's possible that his bodyguards have murdered him and taken the money. But likewise, these two people are ones that Hamber has worked with before. I believe, Jim, he's looking at your character, he's looking at Cormac, and sort of he's trying to remember your names. I believe.
And I kind of step forward and go, Cormac Mottles.
Yes, of the Green Downs Mottles.
Correct.
Ah, yes, fine people.
Standing tall, but short.
I believe you have previously been on this trail.
Yes, I was in your service for last season.
Oh yes, sorry. So many things going on around here, he says, and the silence of the building kind of counterpoints that. Yes, I believe you've met Maunus.
Yes, we travelled together.
He has been out this season again. Him and a chap called Darius, who I haven't met before, but Hamber attested to the fact that he was worthwhile, and he's actually an official trooper of the 4-star troop. And you guys know this is actually quite a mercenary company that do lots of work with King's Army. So yes, I'm afraid I have very little information for you to go on. I haven't dealt directly with the towns in quite a while. I've been attending to some of my properties up north. Aliulis may have some information for you on the towns themselves, as he deals mostly with Hamber when he goes out to collect the taxes. So I will leave you now, as I have some papers to attend to. However, I will say that for each of you, I will provide a stipend of 30 gold pieces, and then upon your return, another 30 gold pieces. Make an insight roll.
Everyone?
No, just Lena, because you were looking at me when I said it.
Let's have a look.
Write stuff down. The character would have been looking.
21.
21. He seemed to not like the idea of giving up money.
Well,
Very well.
looking at this place.
Yeah. He heads off, and Aliulis, who's you'd see now, is kind of standing behind him. Perfect manservant. He appeared without you even noticing.
Oh, I'm sure I did.
Yeah. Well, without the Baron noticing, which is a different thing.
When you say he doesn't like the idea, is that this is going to sting, or I'm really not going to do this unless I have to?
It's going to sting.
Right, okay.
Yeah. He has to do it,
Yeah, okay.
but it's going to sting him. Aliulis kind of steps forward. Do you require any other information from me? I have your documents for the Aeromancer carriage.
Is this some kind of a warrant to be supplied that
yes.
we can, show people and say, no, we're not really just going to rob you blind?
Indeed, I have a document that you can take with you, which has the Baron's seal upon it.
I suggest you don't give it to me.
I will pass this over to
Most responsible
Aurelian?
looking one.
Aurelian. Sorry. And he produces from his coat thing and hands it over to you.
In my pouch.
What time is the carriage?
You have an hour until you need to depart. You all know where it is. There's this big structure that's in the middle of near the docks, and it's made out of stone and wood. They've tried to make as big and as kind of gaudy looking, impressive looking building as possible to sit over this end of the Golem Road. And in there, basically large carriages with wheels that are lined with metal to sit on the rails, and they kind of are connected together because it's perfectly straight. It doesn't go around any corners or anything. So they have these long carriages on lots of wheels. And you have been told that aeromancers with powerful air magic have artifacts powering sails that blast the thing across the land. So it's like a land raft on rails.
Wow.
So was it Malnus and
Darius.
Where there was his two bodyguards when he went off?
Yes.
Is this the cash?
Okay, so they're missing.
Not cash. The Satorian that you guy.
Aliulis.
Yeah, the guy we're talking to at the moment.
Yes.
Okay, I will ask him in cash. Do we know any information about the bodyguards?
He says to you back in Quesh, well, this Magnus fellow has been on many tours before, so we tend to trust him. And this Darius chap comes very highly regarded by the full-star troop, so we have no reason to doubt him.
I'm going to ask as politely as my character knows. When can we look forward to getting our initial payment? I
shall fetch that for you now.
Thank you.
Would you care for any refreshments before you leave, and while we discuss the other particulars about the towns?
I would most request to see his quarters.
Ah, yes, of course. I can show you to his quarters. Let me fetch the payment for you.
Can you have my payment forwarded to my masters?
Of course. The Baron is always happy to contribute to the Cartographers Guild.
As I've kind of been in there before, does this holdings have a stables area where I think other staff may be that I would know?
Yes, outside of this building, there's like a series of small buildings. So there's like a kitchen bolted onto the side of the house. There's a stables. There's a kind of a small smithy kind of thing for small repairs on horseshoes and that kind of thing. So there's a small collection of buildings. As you arrived, you saw a couple of other people sort of moving around. But as I said, it seems fairly skeleton crew kind of for a baron in the city. You're in the middle of the city, near the docks. You would think he would have lots of stuff going on.
Would you mind if I went to the kitchens to visit my friends there and gather some supplies for the journey?
Very well, yes.
And I'm going to just head off.
Please do not draw any weapons in the house.
No, certainly. And so I just basically go to the kitchen, grab some herbs and shit for cooking, and chat to people. Nothing much because I've got my own rations.
Okay.
So we split, and there's now only 3 of us in the room.
Well, Aliulis leaves briefly and comes back with some small bags, 4 small bags, and he hands them out to each of you before you go. And he says, "I will pass on your." Yes, excellent. Right. Well. Hambo has told me that Tallpine, they had expanded quite a lot. Of the 3 towns, it's been their longest, and they've expanded out into the surrounding forest quite a bit, so it may be a bit of a spread out community. I think there's a chap called Hans who is kind of currently looking after, not really a mayor, shall we say, but community leader. Okay, so Aliulis is giving you guys some money, telling you a little bit about the towns. Cormac, you've gone outside.
I've gone to the kitchens.
Gone to the kitchens. Okay, so you go through the house to the right. Aliulis kind of gestures to you. You've been there before, but he gestures anyway. And you head through into the kitchens.
I want to go to see his living quarters.
Okay, well he'll have to take you up there afterwards, so you'll have to wait. Okay, so you go into the kitchens. In the kitchens, there's a fire going. The oven is on. There's heat in there. It feels warmer than the other room you were in. And there is a woman moving around tending to the food and other such things. She looks like she's baking bread in the oven or something.
All right. Do I know her? Did I see her?
You don't recognise her, no.
I'll just go up and make small
Hello?
talk. Just like, hello, I was in service of the.
One moment. And she kind of leans down, opens the oven and slides out along, puts it in, pulls out a loaf of bread and puts it on the top. It smells really good. It's almost as if it's got sort of cinnamon or something in it. It's really nice sort of smelling bread.
Sweet. Just say hello. I was in the service of the Baron last year, and I'm here.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
going out looking for Hanver.
Oh, poor Hamber. Yes, he's
yeah.
not.
So
he's not come back.
what happened? What have you heard?
We don't know. We don't know.
Oh, there's always got. I was here last year. I know what the kitchens are like.
Well, you know, some of the staff have been let off recently,
Oh, I see.
and I think Hamver was lucky to keep his job.
Okay.
We're all quite lucky to keep our jobs in the
Yeah.
household, actually. So
Wow.
I don't know of anything that he would be thinking. I don't
Well,
know.
if you keep cooking bread like that, I'm sure you'll be here for a long time.
Oh, thank you.
Smells delicious.
Would you like a slice?
Well, I've come here to kind of nab some stuff for the journey. We're just about to head out. Have you got some
She
little
takes
bits
out a
and
cloth
pieces?
and she wraps up the loaf and gives it to you.
Door!
As his character runs away.
I think you just lost the loaf.
Never
then.
to be seen again.
Takes the loaf and
That was
runs.
his entire objective. Get the bread and
Got
get
the
out.
bread.
I win at life. Just like, oh yeah, that's great. I knew
We've
that.
got some trail rations that some of the people use when they head out of town.
Yeah, I mean, if I could just grab some bits and pieces as well, yeah, that would be great because I've only got kind of real basic stuff with me right now.
Of course. Just give me a moment and I'll get a few things together.
Thank you very much.
Okay, back out in the main room, you guys are talking to Aliulis. Yes, so Tallpine has expanded out into the forest. They're sort of moving further out. They try not to deforest one particular area too heavily at one time. Obviously, they're trying to maintain the land whilst working it. The town of Oakhart is a bit further out, another day into the strike. I'm not sure who's actually in charge of that town at the moment. I haven't spoken to Hamber about Oakhart in a while, although he did say that they are producing well. Shipments have been coming back down the road as expected, so things are working well. They're selling to some of the other towns that are dotted up and down the Golem road when they get the chance to use the road itself. Greenrise, I believe, is really more of a hunting town, although the Baron may think that they're all logging communities. Greenrise, a lady called Sharin runs the camp there. It's more of a camp than a town, but they are hunting on the Baron's land, so they are paying a tithe as expected. They are a bit more of a transient folk. They do have a small set of structures in the town itself, the village really, but most of them are about on the land, catching animals, making pelts and skins, and salting meat and that sort of thing. So,
Are all these towns on the Golem Road, or will we have to go to one of them and then walk?
no, yes. So you'll be there is a station along the Golem Road where you will depart the carriage, and then you'll have to make your way down a road.
To Tallpine. Okay.
Yes.
I just want to check what that heater is on because it is getting quite hot. No, not like burning me. It's just getting very hot itself.
Oh, it's really nice.
How do you tell?
Brief
Oh,
pause.
it is on 3.
Yeah, just
It
put it
is
on
on
one.
3.
Just put it on one.
There you go. Don't want to set fire to us. Don't want to set fire to us.
Yeah, that's a first dungeon roll.
Well, I
Last dungeon
I
roll.
wouldn't do
Dragon.
that. Woof, I can't do that wall, am I?
Yeah.
Not with my stats.
Yeah, let's have a fire at the entrance.
The axe ain't gonna help
I'll be
me.
alright. I'll get out there. Okay, yes.
This show is literally on fire.
So, what was I going to say? I was asking about Tallpine, wasn't I? So how do they get their supplies of logs and wood back to the main city?
Horse and cart. They drag down the road. There's a fairly...
Is there aero carriage only for travellers then? Passengers?
Oh, that
Is
costs a
it-
huge amount of money to use.
Baron has some arrangements, but they generally deal with the surrounding towns. As you can imagine, there are a lot of towns cropping up in the strike.
It's just
and they
possible that
often need materials.
on the way back from Green Pines, they would have to traverse this road. So we will have to probably do it as well. Because
Yes.
something could have happened between Green Pines and here.
If anything has happened, the likelihood is it's not near that road.
Okay.
So the Golem Road goes out straight.
Have I come back in?
Yes, you'll come back now. The Golem Road goes out straight, and then there's a station a bit further along, and then a day's journey, and then a day's journey, and then a day's journey
And
away
then
from the Golem Road.
all the way
And
back
then
down.
all the way back down. Yep. Which is why it takes him sort of around 10 days, because he goes and stays and talks and all that kind of thing.
Do I see anyone going at the smell of fresh bread?
No.
He
Anyone?
comes back with swaddled food.
But I spent the morning in the kitchen having breakfast.
Oh, okay.
So I've eaten plenty today.
Okay,
I'm
so
just looking around.
Bread was lovely though.
Great.
he says to you, would you still like to see his room?
I would very much like to see his room. Thank you very much.
Very well. Well, if you'll follow me, if you could perhaps remove your if you could remove your boots, perhaps. They
I
seem
shall step
fairly well.
forwards. I shall step forward and say, perhaps I shall go and look at the room. Sometimes these things are better done without the presence of loud people.
Following the translation, I'll nod.
Yes.
And I go,
Very, very well.
I just go, loud people. I'm tiny.
Very well.
Okay.
Follow me, and he takes
I will
you
follow you.
takes you up two flights of stairs to the second floor, and then along a corridor and to another flight of stairs up to the what looks like it's probably servants' quarters up the top. And there's a central corridor between a series of rooms, and one seems to be a bit larger. And he says, "This is Hounder's room. It's got one of the largest rooms on this floor." He shuffles around some keys, unlocks the door. You go in. There's
I shall wander in,
Mhm.
and I shall say, I'll only be a few minutes, and close the door behind me.
make a persuasion roll.
Persuasion. Okay. 13.
Any bonuses to that? What's your charisma modifier?
My charisma modifier. My charisma's not a good one. My charisma has a negative modifier.
Okay. Of what?
I'll just be a few minutes.
My charisma
He says
is
holding a
-1.
swag
My
bag.
So
charisma is
12.
-1.
Okay, 12.
Yeah.
I'd prefer if you didn't close the door. I'll
That's-
stay out here. That's fine.
Just try not to make too much noise.
Of course.
Okay. So I shall.
He stands at the doorway.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So I shall go into the room.
Yep.
And I shall. And what do I see?
There is a bureau to one side. There is a wardrobe.
Yeah.
There is a rug on the floor, and there is a bed over to one side. There are some windows looking out under the eaves of the roof of the building.
Okay. So I'm trying to get a sense of the man.
Yes. It's quite Spartan. The things on the bureau. He's got a little what's the word? Inkwell and quill in there.
Yeah.
He's got spare quill that's beside it, nicely perpendicular to the edge
So
of the
very
bureau.
neat.
His
I'll look-
wardrobe is closed.
So I'll look through. Okay. Well, I'll look through some of his clothes. See if
Okay.
he's a portly man. If he's a, is he a,
He doesn't seem to be large. He
no.
doesn't. No, he seems to be a standard kind of human-sized from his clothes. They all seem to be fairly dark colours, blues and browns.
Okay.
And there is what looks like a travelling robe that hasn't been used before. A travelling cloak, quite a thick one.
Okay.
But that's hanging up in there, and that's not been used. Looks fairly new.
Okay. I'll check the bureau and see if there's anything that doesn't open.
Let's see if he locked it. The bottom drawer is locked. And
Okay.
there is this
I will
little
open the bottom drawer.
Okay, make a roll.
I opened the bottom drawer.
Did you roll?
well, with my
Proficiency
bonus it's more than
bonus,
20.
fixed it. Okay, right. So you kind of surreptitiously try to do it. Open the.
I'll merely create a shadow in the right place so it can't see what I'm doing.
You fiddle with the lock and it slides open. And inside there is a small pile of papers, which looks like he's done some writing on. And there is a dagger, and there is a small pouch.
Okay. Can I read what's on the papers?
Yeah, some of it just seems to be records of the taxes that he's gathered at towns previously,
Okay.
from previous seasons.
Okay.
Some of it seems to be his thoughts about the running of the state. He's got a few slight recommendations on what they should do out in those towns since he's been out there so much. That kind of thing. So he's obviously a guy who thinks about this stuff a lot, and he's written a lot of, he's taken careful record of it.
Okay. Well, I should gather the papers, and I will allow him to see me gathering the papers.
Okay.
As I say, these may well be pertinent to our investigation.
Very well.
And then I will say, I'll close it.
We'll have them back at the end of the investigation. They are documents pertaining to the Baron's estate.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why I'm telling you I've taken them.
Excellent.
Did you not take the pouch?
Did I not take the pouch? I'm thinking about whether I took the pouch.
Did you even look in the pouch?
No, I didn't take the pouch.
Okay. Cool. You
Yeah.
slide the drawer closed.
Yeah, I started
Okay.
first. Yeah.
Um,
The weight of the dagger might slow me down a little bit. But no, I didn't take the dagger.
Aliulis says to you, would you like something to put those papers in? I have a tube you can use. Case.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, well, I shall...
More scroll cases. Woohoo!
He goes and picks one up and then takes you back downstairs to the others.
Okay.
And he
That's
passes you a scroll case.
So when I come down, I will. So basically, I have some papers that refer to the taxes he's collected, and if someone wants to have a read through them, it might give us an idea of which route he takes around the village.
May I?
Be my guest.
Okay, there's quite a few papers, so
Yeah.
it'll take you a while to sort of go through them all.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a scroll case. Put them back in.
Oh,
Yeah, he does want them back, by the way.
okay. I won't say
I
that.
do, he says. Very well. I would suggest that you make your way to the station, so you can get the carriage. Wouldn't want to be late for that.
I shall collect my pack by the door.
Okay.
I'd left my pack at the wherever I was staying, so I just need to make a detour to go and get it.
Okay.
We'll meet you at the station then.
Excellent.
Okay. So you make your way past the local tavern. What's it called?
I haven't even thought about where I was staying.
No, there is a nearby tavern. The unfortunate badger. The Quill and Well, which is referred to as the Quell by people.
Mm.
It is a tavern that used to be a paper a printing place and making paper and ink and that kind of thing, and it slowly turned into a tavern. So you pop by there and collect your things, and then the rest of you head down along the docks to. You can all see this large structure, the station, Ondsmouth station, and it's got, as I said, lower level is kind of all stone built, and then it's got a big wooden roof on top. And you've got your Aliulis has given you the documents for your transport. So you arrive, and there are guards around the building. These are King's Army guards. This is one of the King's personal buildings, so he owns this building.
Okay.
And they're all there in chainmail, shield, spear, swords on the belts kind of thing, helmets, that kind of stuff. A mixture of bloodlines, so there are some Himlac guards, some Kulden guards who are dwarves, you see the odd gnome, mostly humans. And this building, there's lots of people moving around, there's lots of wares coming in and out. You can see goods and vehicles moving here and there, carts, carriages, all those kinds of things. And you make your way towards the grand entrance, which has got this lovely set of stairs going up to it, and lots of people are moving up and down.
I'll not be in the front of the party.
Okay. They all seem to be fairly well to do, or on the business of someone who's fairly well to do. So they're either running around mad with documents and things tucked under their arms, or they're kind of well dressed and kind of taking their time with bodyguards and things like that. You do get the odd glance from some people. You get the odd nod.
I'll return them.
Because everyone likes a cleric of your sign. It's a good
That's
sign.
It's like a doctor on a plane. It's a doctor on the plane.
Yeah. And you make your way up into this large space where at the far end are large kind of wagon-style carriages fitted on these rails. And there are people moving around, and there are guards kind of managing the area where people go and alight the vehicle. And there's a kind of ticket office kind of structure as well, where people are selling the very expensive tickets to ride on the Golem Road. It's not normally done for leisure, it's mostly for trade, that kind of thing. As you go in, you see a carriage arrive and a large group of people coming off of it, and they all seem to be workers, in fact miners. They're all wearing sort of leather cap helmets. They've all got picks and tools and kit and equipment, and they are coming off of a carriage. And as you see them, because there's a large group of them, which is why you kind of notice them, they seem to come out, and waiting where they come out, there's another group of these kind of workers all standing there. The guys coming off look quite dour. The guys going look quite happy. And they kind of swap over, and these guys move off to that carriage and sort of start to load up.
There might be a quiet comment of poor bastards.
Do we know what they're doing?
So at the very far end of the Golem Road, they are excavating Leron's Pit, which is a vast mine. There was always a mine there, but it had never been like fully explored. And now great effort is being made to have this ready in the next 2 weeks on the coronation day of the king, because there'll be a big celebration. And they believe that they'll be able to find Tillium steel in Leron's Pit. And this is part of the king's efforts to try and take the industrial power away from Blackbridge, which is a city to the north.
It'll never happen.
Which is where you're from, I guess.
No, he's from further than that.
Oh, you're from
I'm
further.
from
Oh, yeah, you're
yeah,
further than that,
yeah,
aren't you?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so this pit is being, it's not just a pit, it's a vast mine complex at the
They
very
call
end.
it a
of this thing.
mine.
Yes.
Oh my!
But you're not going that far. You're just going a couple of hours down the carriage, and well, now you're just going a couple of hours down. down
Lena
the
doesn't fancy the look of that. She doesn't like mining. She'd rather be out in it.
Yes.
Fascinating.
It's just a hill with a roof.
Your documents say you have passage to Fullridge Station, which is where you're going to get off and head towards Torpine.
So we alight the train then? Not the train, the carriage?
Yes, so you go up and there are guards, and there's an official-looking fellow who's a bit looks like he's been studying books rather than being out in the fields. And he's got little spectacles on the end of his nose. And he takes your document off you with a bit of a kind of strange look at you all. Very well. Fullridge and no further. Yes, Captain. I see they're seated comfortably. He hands back the document.
Who went first?
Not me.
Probably me.
You had the paper.
Someone had the documents.
I did.
And
Plus, you look the most official.
there's no look about it. You are official. He's like fully done up.
Yeah, fully garbed.
And this guardsman, who he referred to as Captain, if you'll follow me, he says in Marique.
Yeah, of course. I answer in Marie.
Okay. And he leads you up the side of this large carriage, and here you can see that large structure has been built around this black material that shoots out to the east-northeast, and the rails sit within this black material, which is the same material as the Black Road, which several of you have walked on before. It's very fascinating, perfect kind of road.
It is.
And sitting on it is large carriages. They're connected together, and they have sort of steps going up to them so that you can get up to them. And he kind of walks along to one that looks like it's kind of not as fancy as the ones further down the carriage, and sort of says, "This is your where you can sit."
Is there a deck? Is there an area around it?
No, this is a contained one. That's up the front where the Aeromancer will be piloting the carriage. If you wish to make your way up there, you can pass through the carriages. It can be a little bit tricky if there's strong crosswinds and you make your way, but generally people stay in their carriages and just get off at their station. Anyway, please be seated. Be mindful of other passengers. No weapons drawn in the carriage. There are guards in every carriage, so behave yourselves.
I shall make my way up.
Seems to be looking mainly at you two when he says behave yourselves.
So if he said that, I might give him a bit of a funny look.
Yeah. So you kind of there's set stairs, and you can see the carriages go further down. And in fact, at the front, you can see that they're opening sails at the front of the
I shall walk down to the front.
Okay, you walk down to the front. You start passing by fairly nicer looking carriages. Some of them have house crests on them. There's one. There are no Ermott ones, so no specific ones for House Ermott.
I have joined them at this point.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You've caught up to them.
Oh yeah.
You've caught up to them. There is a carriage further up which has, similar to Ermott. Ermott has cross halberds. There is one that has cross spears on it, and you know this is House Great Spear. And then ahead of that one, there is a large one with a kind of prow, and there are sails, and you see a group. There's several guards, and you can see a few people who look like they're important standing around the mast, as it were. And there's some kind of metal contraption holding something about 4 or 5 feet off the deck.
What is it?
You can't quite see because there are people moving around. You can just kind of see that there's something. It looks like a kind of tripod thing set up with like almost like a brazier, but there's something maybe crystalline on the top.
I'm going to push my way towards that one.
The guards are kind of quite solidly surrounding it, and they may actively stop you from approaching.
So were we shown to where we're supposed to be,
Yes,
and
yes.
then who's kind of gone wandering
I think
off?
Saint and Poot have
Okay.
walked off up the front.
Would I? Am I that interested?
I'm
No, I
interested.
don't think
I like trains.
I like trains.
I like a nice train.
From a glance from behind the guards, can I see what is in the brazier? What is it?
Make a perception roll. And Poot.
Ooh, lovely.
I might really need to roll
15.
Yeah, can I go and see if I can have a look at what's behind the brazier?
Cormac, if you could finish with the papers, would you mind?
Have I finished with the papers?
19.
You've been having a good look through them.
Yeah.
But you were aware that you had a couple of hours on the carriage, so you thought maybe you'd do a bit of reading there.
Okay, well, I
That's
see.
what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to have to sit
You can share them around.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so,
fine.
when I've had a look through these ones, do you want to start with these ones?
No.
Okay.
You kind of sort of, and you're fairly tall, so
Yeah.
you kind of lean around and you look between kind of the spears of some of the guards, and you can see that it's not a brazier; it's actually legs that have a metal brace around what looks like some strange fusion of crystal and a green metal,
Okay.
and it looks kind of spiky and prongy.
Oh, would I ever have seen anything like it before, or read about it, or?
It's fairly reminiscent of the sphere of light that you've
Okay.
heard about in Satoria, which is a crystalline artifact of a lost age.
A lost age, so not golems, before golems.
Not before golems, of the
Do I see
Golem
the
age.
same?
The Golem age.
I rolled 19.
Yes, you see it as well.
Okay.
But you know that some artifact is used to power these carriages, so you assume that this is
I'm
it.
not actually that interested in it, to be honest. I'm more interested in the people.
That must be what they use
There
to
seem to
power
be a
the
few
carriages.
nobles dotted around,
Yeah.
and there is a
Must-
young man who looks
I would
no
love
older
to know
than
how it
16, 17,
I have
with
no
a
idea,
shaven
but I'm
head,
sure I could find out.
tattoos going down the back of his
Using
body.
something.
And he's wearing a simple robe, and he is meditating on the deck.
Can I, using knowledge arcana, see if I can figure out how it might work? I believe. I've got good rolls.
Okay, make a roll.
Oh, damn it.
You'd need to get closer and sort of maybe try and
I
interact
got-
with it a little bit.
11.
No. Especially at range, you can't really.
It looks like a
I'd
magic
have to
thing.
get closer.
It looks like a magic thing.
Yeah, maybe if we distract the guards.
And then get arrested before the train's even left.
At that point, I will turn around and walk back to my seat.
As you go past the Great Spear carriage, one of the windows is open on the side, and an elderly woman who you do not recognise nods her head at you. And she has very
Mom.
fine jewellery on.
I will return her nod respectfully, Mom,
That's all.
and keep walking.
Okay, so you guys make your way to the carriage, and you get on.
The
And
two
then-
of us are rustling papers.
I'm
see-
staying at the front.
You're staying at the front. Well, they won't let you on the front section.
I don't need to be on the front.
Okay. Well, as you're standing there, you see some young lads come out with flags, sort of at the back and at the front, sort of waving flags. And the one at the back starts waving, and then the one at the front waves back, and then and it seems that they're signalling that they're ready to go.
It seems we're ready to go.
You four are in the carriage.
Yep.
You've got a kind of nice seated little room in there, a couple of little rooms, seats. It's not built for opulence or anything, but it's quite comfortable.
It's fine, I prefer it that way.
Okay. As you're standing there and the flag's going, you see an elderly man walk over to the young man meditating on the deck, and he says something to him. You can't hear what he says because there's too many people around and activity going on. And this 16-year-old boy stands up, walks over and puts his hands on the crystal, and suddenly there is a gale of wind that fills the area around the carriage, and all the windows kind of rattle slightly as this wind howls past the vehicle, and the sails fill up at the front, kind of sticking out, and the vehicle starts to move, and he's kind of focused quite intently on this crystalline artifact.
This
Okay, so we
is
start.
quite the wonder.
It seems to be
Pepsi?
magical in nature. Perhaps a magi operates the sails at the front of the ship.
Do I know more about this? Because I've been in the city for like a while.
Yeah, you won't ever have
Past.
travelled on the Golem Road,
No, but I would have heard of
but
it.
you've heard about it. And a lot of people know that magi are used, and that's why they're called aeromancer carriages, because aeromancers.
Speaking in Kesh, I'm going to look around to see if anyone looks like they're having trouble understanding what I'm saying.
Anyone don't speak Kesh.
Wesh.
I'm not there,
Crash.
so that's okay.
Okay,
I'm reading paperwork though, so I'm listening, but I'm
I will switch to Marique.
Just like, well, I'll just say, well, the only thing I can't speak is Torag, so I think we're okay.
It's nice when we can understand each other.
You speak Marique?
I say that in
Okay,
Marique.
I will speak in Marique.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Okay, so the carriage starts to move,
Mhm.
and the wind speed starts to pick up, but it's almost as if the funnel of wind starts to move above the carriages rather than around it as it gets out of the building. And it's starting to move forward now, and you're kind of standing on the platform next to it.
Do I...
It's starting to leave.
Well, no, he's
You
still
might
on the
get-
train, isn't he?
Oh right. Okay. Well, I thought you were just. I thought I was on.
No, you'd walk down the side of the train to look at the front of it.
Ah right. Okay. I didn't.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Well, I'll just get on then.
Do I know who invented these trains, this way of transportation?
Make a history roll.
Yeah! That's slightly better. 16.
16?
I've got proficiency in history and intelligence +2, so +4, so 15. No, not 6. 15.
The stories say that Alda, one of the Prima,
Okay.
who disappeared hundreds and hundreds of years ago, devised the first Aromancer carriage.
Cool. I'll pass that on as a bit of trivia to everyone in the carriage.
Okay.
I'll ask how you know this.
I've studied hard, and books tell us many things.
Indeed.
Mm.
I'm still flicking through the papers. So
And
I
a lot of
can't-
knowledge in Satoria is derived from the Sphere of Light, which is an artifact that imparts knowledge to people.
Nice.
You won't have experienced that firsthand, but some of your teachers
Okay.
will have, and they've passed that knowledge on to you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Still going through papers.
So the carriage moves out through the city, and you start to see all the different buildings around you. You can see the palace off to the left. You pass by. You can see just in the distance the Baron's house, kind of thing. And this area particularly has lots of noble estates and households, large merchant houses, guilds, mercenary companies, those kinds of things. So it's kind of large buildings. And then as you move out a bit further, you see that there are kind of smaller markets and residential areas. Some clever merchants have made kind of flags and signs that only people on the Golem Road could see.
Nice.
So kind of advert hoardings almost, dotted around on top of a few roofs. You know, there's a particularly fine cobbler, someone who makes wonderful jewellery. You know, they're kind of for the rich and famous people. But soon the carriage is moving out of the city, and you pass through the walls, and there's a large gate that's been erected, and they can seal it if there's ever time of war and all that kind of thing. So you head out. It's going along. You can hear the wind. There's no clack of pistons and all that kind of thing, or steam blowing or anything like that. It's just like a wind blowing above the carriage.
This must be what flying is like.
And you whiz along, and this thing actually gets up to about 50 miles an hour. So
Wow.
you're kind of shooting along like twice as fast as any horse could ever carry you. And for all of you, this is your first trip in one of these Aromancer carriages, and it is awesome. The countryside starts to roll past faster than you could imagine. And you can see off to both sides. You've got to your left, you've got the North Strike heading away, which has been slightly more settled. And then to the south, you've got the South Strike. You know, beyond there's the great clearing where Rystable has built as a farmland. But there's kind of big forests either side of you, with some signs of settlements and towns and things that are dotted around. Little smoke coming out of the tree line here and there. And if you kind of stick your head out, you can see very far distance, sort of mountains. You pass through a hill. The hill has been cut exactly with a slot through it, so that the Golem Road passes straight through it. And you keep going. This thing is an artifact of the golems themselves, and this was crafted over 1,000 years ago. And the like of it would never be made again by the people of the land. So yeah, you've got a couple of hours on the carriage as kind of trees are going past. So what do you guys want to do?
Reading papers.
Okay.
As far as that goes, I'm not really looking for the rents and whatever he's been doing there. I'm more trying to work out if I've recognised the settlements and what his route would be and whether I've come across that. Because I would have come through on my way down,
Yes.
but it's not actually near where I'm from.
No, but on the way down, you did hear some people talking about the hunters from Greenrise being fairly skilled people and ranging quite wide to get things such as elk, to hunt deer, and there are bears in the woods, and boars and all those kinds of things. You will have potentially traded with people from Tall Pine, but it is kind of like a straight road that goes out into the woods. So you've got Tall Pine, then Oak Hop, then Greenrise. Sort of a day's travel, not 24 hours travel, but you know, the good portion of the day travelling between them. You realise that Hanva must have had, you know, near to sort of a couple of 100 gold pieces on him if he's gone around each of these villages, because the season's taxes kind of gathers up, and there's, you know, certain agreements and certain trade situation going on. It looks like these villages are doing quite well for themselves, and particularly Tall Pine is actually starting to. You've got records of like land deeds and structures being built and those kinds of things, and it sounds like that village is becoming a bit of a town. And because it's not far out on the Golem Road, it's actually potentially an early stop-off point for travellers and things. So it's kind of,
or anyone heading further into the into the strike.
Yeah,
I share this. I'm kind of just saying things out as I'm reading. But
yes, you're kind of in your little room in the carriage, and it's rumbling along. It's actually quite smooth. So apart from the wind sort of shaking the carriages
a little bit,
kind of sway. Exactly.
A bit like a boat
A little bit, yeah.
More than
It's
anything,
more
yeah.
akin
A
to
land boat.
sailing than training. Yeah. So you are kind of sitting there in comfort and looking out the window, seeing the countryside go past, and it's all quite a spectacle.
Cool.
This is quite something.
Yes, I'll be making notes in my book with ink and quill I pulled from my backpack
Okay.
as we're going along.
No, I'm good. Good. I should just use my brain to make notes.
Did you say that out loud?
Well, no, because you didn't say I'm using my notebook.
Oh, right, I was about to say.
I hope you did.
You just got your notebook out.
I'm just making notes.
I'm just quite an awkward person.
No. Could you imagine though what the
might
use
have
of this
actually-
road might
I
have
might have
been
actually
thousands
thought
of years ago?
Mm.
Like we use it now for mobilization and movement, but what did the golems use it for? What was the purpose of this place?
Probably the same thing.
The rails, I believe, are original, so they could well have used it for a very similar purpose.
Or they could have had some kind of mechanical traction, or maybe it was part of a giant machine. We will never know, unfortunately. Unless we could find one of these golems in real life and ask him these questions, or the Prima, they would know.
The Prima would know.
Yes, if only we could meet one.
The king's a prima.
Says a
Well, the
voice.
next time
That
we're in
pops in your
town, I'll
head.
be sure to introduce you to the king.
That would be lovely.
I'm just going to look out the window. Like,
Gently ringing bells.
I have never been this far north before.
I know. I've never realised there was so much green in the world.
yes.
So you kind of roll along for a couple of hours.
Rivets. What will I think of next?
And yeah, after a while, you start to find that you get slightly bored by the view out of the window. After an hour, it's still trees. It doesn't really change
Yeah, that's
much,
fine.
and this area of the land is fairly flat. Off to the right, but your views
So
on the left, you can kind of see out.
South-y-ish.
Yeah. You can see you can tell where the river is. The Ondu River is the great river that flows from the mountains. There's kind of a break in the tree line over that direction. You can't really see the river itself, but you can see where the gap is. And it's a huge river. So it rolls along for a couple of hours, and you can see out the window up ahead that there's a similar structure as the one you left, not as big or as grandiose, but you can see a bit of a commotion around it. There's some structures, there's people moving around, there seems to be construction going on, and the wind dies down.
This must be our stop.
Well, it's a stop.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's our stop.
And as you
How do we know? How do we know?
as you approach, there is a big sign
Yay!
Saying
Put it up.
Thameslink.
saying Full Ridge.
Ah.
This must be our stop.
Yeah.